We have 8 in the, not 9?
10 or 10 including.
Yeah, 8 in the room and 2 up makes 10. Right, motion has passed as is. Thank you so much, note takers, for that. Any public comment on approval of minutes? Great, I'm not hearing any, and I'm not seeing any notes in the chat. Again, thank you guys for introducing yourself in the chat. It's super helpful. Okay, we are now moving up to item number 6, the review of the 2026 Food Security Task Force recommendation slides. So for the super fast recap, every year the Food Security Task Force does annual recommendations. We put these recommendations together from different data and evidence that are relevant to the current fiscal year. We also have input from Food Security Task Force members and members of the public. And in terms of threats to food security, threats to addressing food security and food justice and food systems in San Francisco, as well threats and challenges, as well as opportunities. We've had a number of series of feedback to put together these recommendations. P and the TPH team that supports the Food Security Task Force, that's P and Eric, have put together some data and trends to begin the discussion, and then we will go into our recommendations. Great, sound good? So we'll go ahead and go through it, and then as we go through, we will go through. And then do you want to take questions like after a certain point, or do you want people just to kind of chime in? Chime in. Okay. So Food Security Task Force members will chime in, and then we'll open it up for the public to make comments after we finish each section. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, hopping in. Thank you all again for last month's conversation where we talked about opportunities, threats, and challenges. You'll see that incorporated into this presentation. Feel free to provide feedback. I tried to summarize all of everyone's responses as best as possible. But when we get to that part, again, please feel free to chime in. This year's task force recommendations follows last year's approach. This slide pretty much stays the same. This is just the background of the Food Security Task Force, its roles and responsibilities. The only thing that was added to this slide was the task force's anticipated sunset date on July 1st, 2026. This is the status of food security. So 39% of San Franciscans below 200 FPL received food stamps in 2024 compared to 44% in 2023. In California, 1 in 5 people struggle with food insecurity. As we know, the price of food, or also known as the All Food Consumer Price Index, has rose 23.6% between 2020 and 2024. Based off CHIS data, and you'll see another number later on, that's ACS data, but this is Community Health Interview Survey, or CHIS data, shows that 28% of San Franciscans below 200 FPL in 2024 compared to 37% in 2023. So you'll notice a slight drop, but again, this is just CHIS data, and this only incorporates for, I believe, 20,000 households surveyed. And then in January 2026, the Economic Research Service predicted that the price of food will increase 3%, at-home prices will increase 1%, and food away from home prices will increase 4.6%.
That's a good question.
Absolutely.
Just curious, are we not able to say how many people in San Francisco? Are we saying one in, the California is fine, I noticed James, I was just curious why we're not saying.
Just on the chest.
Can we not say how many people in San Francisco as far as?
We can say the number of folks that are food insecure. Is that what you're asking?
No, parents, you don't say California more than 1 in 5, as opposed to in San Francisco.
So you would like to ask, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I just think it makes it easier to be like, oh, California, yeah, that makes sense. No, so
Oh, so just kind of eliminate that and just keep it on San Francisco, the 28%, so that we don't have, yeah.
I was looking at this exactly like ton policy, support letter, 2 days ago.
Yeah,
So we still help.
I don't think that it exists. The last documented ones that might short San Franciscans, but that was just from 10 years ago. So there's not an updated number for all San Franciscans that was a few times. It's just data point, it's just for the population that's 200% at the LB.
Yeah, no, I think we can just, I think we just use 200% FPL in San Francisco. And then, we usually want,
I'll take that.
At risk because it's based on, 1 in 4 is at risk of food insecurity based on income of 200, which is 200% of. Is that still, I think that's still accurate? That has been that way for a while. I don't know if it's still accurate. We'll have to check.
I'll look into it, but
Yeah.
that might be the latest statement.
Okay, great.
This might be a little granular, but, on the third bullet point, consumers should be capitalized also, since you have the whole picture.
Thanks.
I like that.
If you don't want those, you want me to save you for later, and email you, let me know.
No, that's perfect. Just leave that out, so that's very helpful. Okay, thanks, Rick. Anything else here on the slide? Great, moving on. This was presented to us by HSA at the December Food Security Task Force meeting. Just summarizes the number of folks that are on CalFresh. As we know, 110 individuals utilize CalFresh in 82,000 households. That reaches about 82% of San Franciscans who are eligible. They receive 4,800 applications each month. 225 million is dispersed annually, which is approximately 19 million monthly. We saw that impact in November of 2025 when there was the government shutdown. And that equates to about $240 average monthly benefits per household. Anything on this slide? Great. This was also in last year's Food Security Task Force recommendations. The data has just been updated. There is the self-sufficiency standard, which basically explains how much is needed to live adequately in San Francisco. The latest data set is from 2024, and that remains for a single adult $59,823 annually, which equates to $28 and roughly 33 cents hourly. So if you take into consideration 200% the federal poverty level, which is, we chose 200 because that's what we've been referencing in the previous slides. You'll notice that that's at $31,920. Those making minimum wage full-time will receive roughly $39,894. Self-sufficiency standard, as mentioned, is $59,823. And then those who receive maximum individual SSI benefits receive $11,928. Those on SSI in San Francisco as of December 2024 are a population of roughly 35,623 folks. So take into account these numbers, they don't really come close to the self-sufficiency standard, and the estimated cost for a single adult to have food as a basic need is $5,807 annually. So big chunk of what they're making. Anything on this slide? Great. This was also in last year's recommendations, but has been updated. This is the household income gap between race and ethnicity. You'll notice an increase in the amounts that each race and ethnicity is making. However, even though there's a slight increase in total salary annually, Black, African American, and American Indian, Alaskan Native still make disproportionately less than their counterparts. The citywide median income is $140,970. So you'll see a lot of folks just make either half or again a third of what that median income is. This is a continuation of the household income gap where we're looking at federal poverty level. You'll notice or recognize this chart from last year's recommendations. It also has just been updated. So looking at the self-sufficiency standard and a single household, those that make 125% FPL, which equates to just under $20,000. There's 113 and 150 residents who make 125 FPL. That's 13.8% of our population. And they need to make roughly 3 times more to meet that SSS. For those 200% FPL, we have 175,889 residents, which equates for 21.5% of our population. And they need to make roughly 1.8 times what they're making. to meet that that self-sufficiency standard, and then those at 300% FPL need to make 1.2 times what they're making to meet that standard. Also looking at this ACS data, which is the American Community Survey, for year 2020 to 2024, there were 363,970 surveyed households. Of those households, 41,000, just over 41,000 were receiving SNAP benefits. There were 42,654 households that were below 100% FPL. And of those 42,654, 18,473 households received food stamps. So for those that were 100% FPL, about 43% of those surveyed were receiving SNAP. The data shows that white alone, Asian alone, and white alone non-Hispanic accounted for the households that were more using or more likely to utilize SNAP. However, if you take into consideration the total population against the number of households that utilize SNAP, you'll see that Black African American and American Indian Alaskan Natives experience higher rates of SNAP usage compared to other race ethnicities.
Okay, wait, that one. On the third bullet point there, you say not Hispanic of Latino, I think you need born.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick. Okay, this we probably have all seen before. This is from the Biennial Food Security Report from 2023. Just reiterates the zip codes that experience higher poverty rates than the city average. Lists the neighborhoods, the conditions, hospitalization rates for these populations or these zip codes are 1.6 to 3% higher than the city's average. The only thing that's different between the Biennial Food Security Report and what has been added to the slides is we are naming the districts. So District 5, 6, and 10 make up these zip codes.
Is it common to refer to Selma as Selma neighborhoods? Seems like neighborhoods should go after Tenderloin.
You mean adding it up to?
On the second, the bottom right, Treasure Island, Baby Horse Point, Selma neighborhoods and Tenderloin. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, you're right.
You refer to the Selma neighborhoods, but I think you mean for neighborhoods to go after Tenderloin.
Thanks, Rita.
Nice catch.
Yeah, great.
Sorry, I can't help myself.
You have to read all of my emails because they're
Right? You would die. You would just be talking all day. Okay, this is also from HSA's presentation to the task force in December. It's a breakdown of food investments by department. You'll be able to see those numbers there. The only thing that was added from their pie chart was a breakdown of their CalFresh EBT benefits versus their other funding sources. So 225 million of HSA funding is CalFresh benefits, and then they have an additional 51.7 million. Then you'll be able to see Department Environment, DCYF, RPD, DEC, HSH, DPH, and FFUSD.
What's DEC?
Department of Early Childhood.
Oh, great, this.
This has been, this was in last year's presentation.
So that was updated for this, this is, yeah, 24, 25.
For HSA, this data is from 24, 25. The other data sets are from the Biennial Food Security Report,
Okay,
for 22, 23.
So, yes,
We don't have updated numbers yet.
okay.
This was presented to the task force in June of 2025. That is the mayor's proposed budget. And this, I simplified this a lot, but basically they gave a rundown of continuing programs and then sugar distribution tax or SCDC programs. You'll notice fiscal year 24-25 is at 50 million and then moves from 56 to 55 million in the coming years. And then SCT programs move from 12.85 million and then stay consistent at 11.62 in fiscal year 25 and 26. All of this to say there were two significant changes in the proposed budget that was presented to us. In June, the first one is the SDET program changes, and that's for the health and community grants provided by DPH. In 24-25, there was funding of 0.08 million. And in 25, 26, and 26, 27, that funding drops to $0. And for continuing programs, the significant change was to the supplemental meal services provided by HSA. For 24, 25, there was funding of 1.8 million. And in the coming years for 25, 26, or 26, 27, that moves from 1.8 to 6.05 million. So with all of these fiscal changes, you'll notice that there is a $936 million deficit that the city is facing over the next couple of years. And the mayor has called for 400 million in ongoing general spending cuts that will begin in fiscal year 26, 27.
Question, for the mayor's budget, is this representative of city only funding, or is this city, state, federal grants?
City only is, yeah, because it's the mayor's office.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I think his data's too old. I know, are we gonna show current projections?
We don't have them, do we? We don't have the projections as of now, that will be on us again. This is what they presented last year.
I've seen, I know we for the official mayor's budget, but they have put out what the cuts are this year, and there is that information there, so. Yeah, I think we should try to get the
But it's definitely.
proposed.
That's, I mean, like a DOTS commission meeting, and they were like showing the HSA cuts, like broken down pretty specifically, I think the departments are in their like budget process, so I think it's, I think more updated information.
I mean, I think we can,
Yeah.
you know, and kind of see how to get, so I think the departments know, right, what's proposed.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the mayor's proposed budget, and also James, I just think this is too old, so I don't think it's, just because there's current data. I don't think it's that different, but I think it's, we should try to put out the current budget.
Okay, great, thanks, sir.
I think, and maybe this is too in the weeds for the audience that we're looking at, I think it's important for us to distinguish that this is San Francisco tax-based funding, because we're not even talking about the federal impact or what's going on with the state budget and those different types of things.
Suggestion. Yeah. Yeah.
I do think that if there's time, I would like to still have this slide in, just so we can kind of see that history over the past few years in the projection, and as, yeah, like what you're talking about, with the updated, what we know about the departments that was done, to see like how it's changed from this projection. Yeah.
Because we can do projections and actuals.
Yeah,
You know,
actually, it's as of
For June.
yeah, as of whatever, because we should have 24, 25 already,
Yeah,
right?
well, we have 25, 26, so we know.
And I wonder too, and this is probably a little bit of my sensitivity when it comes to funding and everything, but like, when we're saying it's 50.15 million, was it actually spent? Because that's been part of the problem with the sugar drinks, sugar tax money, is getting it out there, getting it spent on contracts and those different types of things. So we continue to have a fund balance. And I think that adds another layer of it, because you're saying it's 50.15 million, but are you actually spending 50.15 million? Or are you having carryover every year, which then should be, in my opinion, added to the next school, the next year's fiscal funding, right? And as opposed to going to some mystery place that, you know, the transparency of it. Great point. How do you get that data? Well, I mean, I think it should be public. Record. I mean, it could be a public information request unless it's readily available, but it should be part of the budget. You know, at the end of the year that shows finally. Well, it's budgeted, that was spent, and if there's any left over, and then the question is, where did that leftover go? Did it go just back into the general fund, or did it stay within what it was intended to?
What's that?
Last year, we published it at the end of March.
Yeah, so, yeah, there's two different things too, so generally the recommendations don't have the budget information, because they're not final yet, so it's really hard to include those in there, because those go out earlier, and then usually we talk about it more in the meetings with the supervisors. Because we'll have, it all depends on when we get the information too, and it changes a lot. So. I mean, I think there's two different issues. We need to know how much we're spending on food security, San Francisco, and where the track money and transparency, so I'm hearing that for sure. And then there's what we need for the report, so for the recommendation, so maybe those are two separate timeframes. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think I
I think we'll get a sense if I think there's an overall, like, the budget proposes cuts or whatever, I think there's some generalizations that we can get out of this that are relevant for the report, that maybe aren't as detailed. Right, I mean, we should get a sense of if there's major cuts. From the departments, right?
I think it's actually, like you're saying, the actions.
Great, love it, okay.
Okay, thank you all for that feedback. Moving on. We are on to some of the challenges, more so implications of HR1. This is in relation to SNAP. So with HR1, there have been cuts and changes that impact healthcare coverage and food security. HR1 will reduce SNAP spending by roughly $187 billion, which is a 20% cut through 2034, and it's the largest cut in the program's history. Able-bodied adults without independence, also known as ABODs, 55 to 64 years of age, who were previously exempt. Parents and caregivers of adolescents 14 years at 14 years and older must work 80+ hours per month or face a 3-month limit within 3 years. Additional previously exempted groups include veterans, people experiencing homelessness, and youth aging out of foster care. Beginning in fiscal year 27, states must pay 75% of the administrative costs. That was previously 50%. And these newly imposed work requirements will leave 21,000 San Franciscans, which is about 20% of the CalFresh population, at risk of losing benefits by the end of 2027 if they do not meet these work requirements.
And one thing to add on this is we don't have the data yet, because we won't know until we know, is especially this work requirement, I mean, all of it will have an impact on the school meal program. Because our direct certification rate is tied to these things. And if families are getting kicked off of food stamps, or especially youth aging out, they're not going to qualify, there's different things, and that's going to like jeopardy the California Universal Meal Program, because it's tied to things like maybe eligibility.
Yeah.
I don't know like what to say there outside of unknown impacts for SFUSD school meal program, or something along those lines might be good, but I don't know.
And just to note that, what Jennifer's talking about will also have a domino effect on things like CACFP, because it impacts the reimbursement for the childcare educators that participate in that program as well.
And then other impacts too, with like PCYF and ours, meal program. It goes on.
I think we can, have something about those sort of rebounding impacts, yeah, and then be really clear about these are the threats that are happening from that.
I did take into account Reagan's comment, last one that mentions those cuts, so it's briefly mentioned in the threats section, but if there's anything else you want to add, let me know.
I think it's in the press.
Okay, continuing with implications of HR1, this is in regards to Medicaid. So members 19 to 64 covered through ACA Medicaid expansion or an 1115 waiver must engage in employment, education, a work program, or community service to maintain eligibility. The CBO estimates that 11.8 million people will lose coverage, and of those 11.8, 4.8 million will be due to these work requirements. About 216,000 San Franciscans rely on Medi-Cal for health insurance through HSA, and 45,000 through the state. I apologize for all of my inputs. So what these cuts would do to the Medicaid program is it would decrease enrollment by 12 to 23%, which estimates at 25,000 to just over 50,000 San Franciscans. About 8,400 to 16,800 of those will be losing coverage receive services from DPH. And with these HR1 changes to SNAP and Medicaid, DPH reimbursement cut is estimated to be 315 million in 27-28. And that's a total of 400 million by 2038. And HSA projects revenue losses and workload impacts to total as much as 81 million annually. This was a presentation that was put together by HSA. That those vehicles.
And Medicaid doesn't impact WIC, right? I don't think so, does it? I mean, you have to be Medicaid eligible for WIC, but I don't think it impacts your. We'll have to ask you.
Yeah, it's a pretty good question.
Yeah, okay.
Just real quick, I'm not sure who was reading it, maybe wrong, so the second line, the being around 45,000 through the state, that number being, are you talking about the state number?
Those who registered, yes, in San Francisco, is that 45,000 in San Francisco, we utilize the state for Medicaid, while 216 rely on Medi-Cal through HSA.
Through the state, okay, I don't think it's clear what you mean by state. I thought you were trying to understand.
Yes, we might need to clarify that.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, medically supportive food and nutrition, this data point is also from the biannual report, which is data indicates that hospitalizations due to diabetes, hypertension, or heart failure were 9 times higher for Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander residents and 4 times higher for Black African American residents than average rate for SF residents. MSFNN is currently one of the 14 approved community supports services through CalAIM. It is the most utilized. California Community supports medically tailored meals for other name for it. Total member utilization totaled 443 in Q1 of 2022 when it first started, and by Q2 of 2024, that number jumped to 79,410 member utilization. In 2025, the Food as Medicine Collaborative conducted surveys and they saw the following results. That is 1,400 plus patients and their families were served in San Francisco. There were 10,000 plus visits to food pharmacies, and they saw more than a 15 decrease in blood pressure and 1 to 2 point decrease in A1C on average. But with these HR impacts, shifting costs from the Medicaid program to the states, you'll see a significant strain on state budgets to be able to either maintain the support or let alone may get rid of this program and invest in innovation and research.
At a period at the end of the bullet point about 10,000 visits.
The healthcare implications in 2016, the total healthcare costs associated with food insecurity among American adults and children totaled 52.9 billion. The 2024 San Francisco Community Health Assessment, or the CHA, shows that 5 of the top 10 leading causes of death in San Francisco are preventable nutritious chronic diseases. And we know that the cardiovascular disease and diabetes disproportionately impact BIPOC and low-income communities. In San Francisco, the estimated healthcare cost of food insecurity in 2019 totaled 204.5 million. We know that there was a survey, there were a little over 105,000 adults are likely to be food insecure in San Francisco and are estimated to spend 25 more on healthcare costs than people who are food insecure. SNAP participants incur 1,400 less on healthcare spending than a low-income non-participant. So that totals 4,421 versus 5,831. But with 10 million people potentially losing Medicaid coverage by 2034, this could cause 22,000 medically preventable deaths annually.
The one that starts in San Francisco, you're missing a little bullet and it needs a period at the end of that too.
Thanks very much.
They're also $2, 558, 5,830. Oh, yeah,
Rejection.
no, it's from my glasses.
Okay, red threats and challenges to food security task force. We're almost to the recommendations, I promise. Wait lists for services such as food banks, home delivered meals, and vouchers. So for food bank, the wait list equates to 5,849 households in San Francisco. For home delivered meals, there are 230 individuals on the wait list. That's about 78% older adults and 12% adults with disabilities ages 18 to 59. And for food vouchers, there are 100+ organizations or 8,000+ participants that are on the wait list. HR 1 changes that are leading to federal, state, and local budget cuts. Cuts to programs as we went over, SNAP and Medicaid, leading to stricter eligibility and increased costs to states and counties. There's the impact of budget priorities in San Francisco, as we mentioned earlier, the 400 million in city cuts, and then the recent 17 million cuts by DPH. And then Reagan and Jennifer, this is where I included it, feel free to add something, but the decrease in number of children receiving free or reduced price meals. It affects direct certification of free or reduced price meals and may impact other programs such as the child and adult care food program.
So the top line for wait lists for services such as, I think the wait lists really recognize that, doesn't it with that, but such as food banks, I wasn't sure what you meant by, what do you mean by food banks?
That'd be the service that we're in.
That's what I think, we have one food bank, so I think we need Sarah to swear to do that, otherwise, if we want to put food bank names, it's just, we don't have food banks, we have 8 food banks, so do we want to call that out? Or do we want to say food pantries?
Yeah,
We don't have food banks.
yeah, food pantry services and,
Actually, I just don't think it sounds right.
yeah, so there's.
So,
Okay, yeah, got it.
what do you want to change? Food pantries or?
I think it can say wait lists for services such as pantries and those, and then for example, I think these are just examples, right? So that's the food bank, because that's the number specific, because there's probably other wait lists that aren't. There may be, that aren't usually on the.
These are just examples.
Well, are there city pantries that have wait lists as well?
I think it's good to call out the wait lists are there, so we have San Francisco food bank wait list, we have Dawson delivery meals, we have I would call out the wait list, so let's spell it out, what wait lists are. I don't think the just remembers any wait lists. This is kind of the, we go, different wait lists. Unless you're on a wait list, you know, yeah, so anyway, I would call out the actual wait list, yeah, because there shouldn't be any wait lists, you know. I don't need shit, I don't need.
Is there any others that we're aware of?
We have Dawson, we extract that. Groceries. I just want you guys to just call out the name that is. Yeah, so at least call Dawson, wait this out, and San Francisco. That's because I think people recognize that, but those are not being funded. Okay. Great.
Good.
Okay. Continuing with threats and challenges, it's the rise of food costs that makes it difficult for San Franciscans to consistently access meals, and we went over that data point in the beginning slide. There's retail environment constriction, particularly in low neighborhoods that limit access to fresh, affordable foods. We've discussed the cancellation of USDA's Household Food Security Survey and report that produces state level data that we will no longer have access to, that is used to assess hunger trends and evaluate program effectiveness. As mentioned, the expiration of the medically supported food and nutrition is set for December 31st, 2026. With current enacted policies, non-US citizens will continue to be at higher risk of being food insecure. And then SF departments that do work on food security work in silos. The food security continues to serve as an entity working to overcome those fragmented efforts and achieve common goals for collaboration. But again, the food security task force is set to sunset on July 1st, 2026.
PP, for the third bullet for the household food security survey, can we add that cancellation of SNAP ED also canceled the CHIS survey too?
Yes. Anything else?
So SNAP ED is what funded the CHIS survey, and so without that, there is no data that there is no funding for CHIS to actually implement their survey.
I feel like maybe we aren't making the point clear
clearly enough about what cuts to Medicaid will do to food security, like, I don't know that everybody realizes the choices that people have to make about paying for healthcare or paying for food, and I feel maybe we should just be a little more explicit about it. I'm not entirely sure where, but I was kind of waiting to see if we would like tie that for the audience, and I don't know that we really did.
That might make sense on that Medicaid HR1 implications.
Yeah, it talks about the impact of like healthcare, but not like they have to pay for healthcare, they need less people to pay for food.
It also might be nice to demonstrate that more of individual more. So it's less like adding a little bit more, like, especially if we're considering like, who's the audience, because obviously we're using this for all sorts of purposes, but thinking about like our audience also, I think, general public, costs on our website.
Supporting supervisors, they got direct supervisors where their aides really are chatting the meetings. Yeah, to know about that.
Yeah. But it's also recognition, I think, with the, that the SNAP cuts have impacts on children's food supports also, things like that they would just not think about.
Yeah, if you're not in it, you don't like maybe have connections yourself, and I think we have an opportunity to meet people about it.
I mean, even like if, just blanket in like an individual's budget, like if you're thinking right, like household budget for saying it's not bad, saying it's not my healthcare for it's not good, whatever, right? And just to do an illustration of like,
Yeah.
How those costs would shift without remaining balance, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I love the visual, yeah, we'll respond to that. That would sort of be like an overall comment that I have, there's a lot of really tech heavy things. That's like a very major thing, I don't know if we can act it, but we could act just like a little more.
I think before what we used to do, because graphic design is its own special thing, right? So, right, like this, so we usually what we do is do this, because that's actually what we need, and then give it to a graphic designer and then just spit it out, right? Which are we on the are we still working?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're working the same one. Yeah, I think in the past we've also done just like, here's your budget, here's, it could be before cuts, after cuts or something, but it's really clear, like, if you're losing your SNAP, you're losing your healthcare, you're. Yeah. So, and we already framed it for the affordability, we start off right from the beginning, so there might be somewhere that.
Are you all working together?
Yeah, so, yeah, which,
Okay,
yeah, so, yeah, it is trying to be so small. Just that, I'm not trying to do a big one this year, so. But I think we can do a little, like. Thing out that's like, here's someone's budget. Okay, great.
Wait, one more. The very last line is, it says, but are anticipated, I think you mean not, but is anticipated.
Thank you. Okay, successes and opportunities. HSA back in November 2025, during the government shutdown, issued the one-time gift card prepaid grocery cards. There have been food security city convenings such as the SF Food Action Summit, Mayor's Roundtable, and Food Futures. DPH Shelter Health Team staffs a registered dietitian in HSH shelter programs. DOS released multiple RFPs for existing nutrition support programs. The Commission Streamlined Task Force made a decision to keep the STD intact, and they do some food security work and also collect food security data. And SF recovered over 15 million pounds of food since 2022, and then you'll see a breakdown by year in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Continuing with successes and opportunities, there are learnings from the D10 community market and other market style food distributors, such as the Rafiki Community Market and La Rasta's Community Market. There's an on-demand 24-hour kiosk with fresh meals launched for supportive housing residents. Mayor Lurie launched the Food Opportunity Agenda to make SF more affordable for families, and food was included in that. There's still the opportunity to leverage from the task force's Reimagining Food Subcommittee's recommendation for a new food organization structure. There's opportunity to establish a maximum waiting time for wait lists. We can continue to create public-private partnerships as we have done with Crankstar, Give Heart, Hellman Foundation, and Third Plateau. And then there's also upcoming implications of City Attorney David Chu's lawsuit against ultra-processed foods.
Can we also add statewide opportunities to support Bill to deliver data to us in light of those cuts? Like, I mean, this is a bill that the food bank is sponsoring with the California Association of Food Banks, so it's going to be transparent. So AB 1734 is actually proposing a 2-year pilot to fund shifts for a 2-year period in light of everything that has been taken away to inform data-driven solutions for foods.
I'm just like vote on.
Right now, it's, we're waiting for a committee hearing. It looks like it'll be, heard in committee March 17th. So it's already a live bill.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we don't have in the past years, we've also had policy recommendations that we're not really doing this year, but the secret can get us in there.
Yeah, if you want,
Especially if it's, yeah,
I can send a fact sheet to you.
Yeah. great. Love it.
I'm sorry, the author's assembly member Stephanie, so it's a local bill. So San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Okay, that is it for the background, so. Yeah, that's a little bit there.
Consolidating this for the report, but we'll get some more, yeah. I mean, I think the big buckets are pretty evident. The threats of the federal class, yeah, the affordability issue. So I think we'll, it's really good. Yeah, and the data is really helpful because it's used when we set out this report. A lot of people, it really does rebound around like we use it for things. Great recommendations. I mean, it's simple, and as we talked about before, they're pretty much an echo of what we heard last year. We didn't do a lot of changes because we're still pushing on these same recommendations. So the number one is the centralized coordination around food security or food systems in San Francisco with a community advisory board. So this proposal we'll talk about later in this meeting, but that is still our number one recommendation. This bucket of community-driven food coordination structure, we might change the language a little bit, but the idea of a long-term strategic plan around food systems and food security, a very community-driven process so that we have a plan and we aren't just being reactive. And that really supports the work of the food coordination group because then they're really supporting that strategic plan. And also to reauthorize the food security task force until a suitable replacement is found. So until we can get that centralized committee with the centralized office of food with the community advisory board, continue the food security task force. We had to change this a little bit from last year, but it's the same title, the adequate investment to address food security. Again, we may make a real argument right now is with all the threats to food security in San Francisco and the rising costs, so this is not, this is time to increase, right, investment versus decrease. And we may, yes, and we actually may tag some of this to economic development as well. We know that's a really big issue from there. We know that programs do, especially locally sourced or programs that directly impact retail can have economic advantages. So the and then again this ties to what we talked about here with the wait lists. And then also, this was from last time and we left this in here, but we added supporting housing, that we really need to look at this connection of food security to the work that's doing to combat the drug crisis. We may adjust that language to adjust to what the mayor's office calls it. But, and then supportive housing initiatives to make sure that we're getting food supports.
I like that it's in there. It feels a little bit like after all of the background, like it's coming out of nowhere because they didn't talk about those things explicitly. So I think if we're going to keep that bullet point in, we should maybe add a couple bullet points about them in the background.
Same for just the impact to the local economy. I don't
We have at the threats, just in terms of the SNAP dollars that are.
Taking out, yeah, we should do that as like,
Yeah,
yeah, as like, like what is working well, actually, and then we can do that.
People call it the market.
Or sorry, the market, oh, the snap, yeah, it's what's working well is we're supporting it, but what's not working well is taking a snap.
Is there,
right, so like, how much are? Yeah.
Yeah, and having backfill, that, right, yes, and that's huge, they actually have. Agency presented on that, right, they had a number for the economic impact. Yeah. We have to take that out. Do you know what, that we mentioned the economic impact of the reduced SNAP? And how much we that would reduce to global income. That's really.
in the last bit of bullet, is there a specific reason why we point out drug prices, not say public health?
Yeah, I think we need to. Adjust the language too. What, I'm not exactly sure volunteers are currently.
It's in where it's here.
Yeah, we'll look at their, because they have the task force on all that, yeah, just, great. Super. This is, again, a continuing recommendation from before, really important right now. I don't know that we stress as much that the calendar continuous work is it's gonna be extended 1 year, but it goes away. We really need to be utilizing medically supported food and nutrition interventions here. And the top bullet point is, of course, links to the health disparities from that related to food insecurity and lack of food systems in those neighborhoods. Then the should they have current future budget cuts on vulnerable populations? So I think we need to, that one, I think we can align that one with the like the cuts in staff and the impact on health. I got it. And then we just talked about measures for food interventions, and then identifying like the food retail constriction in under-resourced neighborhoods. So that has continued to be an issue with the closing of Safeway Fillmore and the Lucky's closing as well. So I'm keeping an eye on and proactively preventing this more constriction. That's it.
I think on the other two slides, we had a space between the period and the first word and the title. And then on the third, bullet point there, do you have an end parentheses that's blocked by the thing or is it the same?
Oh, the closing. Yeah, it might be blocked by where it says stop.
Okay, let's stop sharing. We'll open it up so that we can see the other questions.
I have a question, I addressed food security fine, but I thought, I don't know if you want to say increase food security or address food insecurity, either one.
then thinking about the visuals, that last slide too, where looking at the grocery stores, that would be nice to see on a map, like where those impacts are. If you're listing on, at least, unless you're going to do it on the side. You know, some of that not really with the health disparities and talking about, yeah, the serious, yes.
Sitting back from the biennial report, there was a map in the biennial report that we used in last year's recommendations.
Okay.
Do you want to bring that back?
And plot the grocery store for what they're here.
I think we can, you know, I say we would have to go about that, but a few stories from businesses.
Yeah, yes, that'll come in the recommendations report, but yes, I know we also mentioned wanting closer to the mayor's office, so we can try to work on getting that.
Super, okay, so we're opening up for comment. I know the Food Security Task Force folks in this room have been commenting. Love to hear from the folks. Opening up for public comment. Also, Marion, sorry for Bailyn, Jamil, do you have anything we missed?
Okay, is the audio working? I'm sure. Oh, sorry.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes, it's a little hard when at times, but yes, overall.
Yeah, I mean, sorry about that, there's some construction going on here, so apologies, thank you so much. Great, so, I am not seeing any hands up for comments, and I am not seeing any, comments in the chat, so, great, so that we'll, next steps on the recommendations is, taking your input, thank you guys so much. The team, will be working on the next reiteration, and then it gets, consolidated for the written, for the, PDF report, and then, there'll be some working of the, graphic designing on the PowerPoints that go for when we talk to supervisors and other key stakeholders.
And fair enough. So are we giving this report to a graphic designer?
Yes,
Both the PowerPoint slides and the written report, yes.
correct, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they match each other, they're sort of like the same, yeah.
And are we gonna have a chance to finalize and build on them at the next meeting, or is that gonna happen between now?
It will probably happen between, the written one in particular would be one that we would just get out to the food security task force for revisions. I'm not sure exactly the timeframe on the PowerPoint. We'll see, we'll have to see on that. Yeah, it also gets consolidated, so that's the other thing, it's, you know. So. That's what we're doing. Good. Okay, great, thank you guys so much for this work, amazing, amazing.
Great job being there.
Yes, excellent. Woo! Okay, we are now, we have concluded item number 6, the review of the task force recommendations. Now, we're moving on to number 7, which is the current status of the new food structure in San Francisco. And so I believe we have some information on this too. Okay, our last meeting, quick summary is we are continuing to recommend the centralized food coordination with the community advisory board. We have voted and decided that we would like to extend the food security task force for 3 years. Have an ordinance to do that so that there's ample time to get this going, should it be going. In the meantime, there has been, again, we have interest from a supervisor of this department, and they asked for some overview of what this legislation might look like. Again, this isn't the action, this isn't us writing legislation, but just like giving some recommendations around this. And so this is the outline draft of some items that would be included in an ordinance around citywide food coordination. So we're gonna go through this. I'm not gonna go through like all pieces of it because it's a longer document. This was routed to all food security task force members for input. So folks had a chance to already look at this for the members of the food security task force. We will go through this very quickly. P, has this been posted yet?
This is not the post.
Okay, thank you. So, the findings are, some, high level information about, the, food systems and food insecurity in San Francisco. A bunch of this you've actually, heard from, some of this might be, information you heard from P, but also, information in general about, the landscape around food security in San Francisco. Goes into the sunset food security task force and the gap that leaves. You're sunsetting it. Sunset the task force, and then here's the key parts here. The establishment of the citywide food coordination. What was outlined here, some recommendations that are more detailed around what it gives input on. And, as you can see, there, the key thing is the recommendation to the mayor and agencies regarding food policy. Coordinating multi-agency initiatives relating to food policy. Again, this is the idea of breaking those silos. And then working with food policy and food system advocates and community-based organizations, academic institutions, et cetera, around food security in San Francisco. This has been continually the advocacy that the community has wanted, like hearing lots of voices supporting this. And then again, there's supporting initiatives to promote the access to healthy food. And particularly with a focus on neighborhoods that have historically had inequitable access. Also there's some powers and duties about the staffing of the Food Advisory Council. And then there's just some questions here. This last one, that's OCFS's Office of Food Coordination. The question is, where does it report to the Food Security Task Force? It's technically reporting to the Board of Supervisors. So the question is, where does this office report to? And then if it's reporting directly to the mayor, what is the role of the Board of Supervisors? So that is more of a question that needs to be more developed. We feel strongly that there has to be a meeting with departments at least quarterly and then reporting to the community advisory board. But that interplay is still, we're not, so this would be one of those areas when we talk to the supervisor's office or other key stakeholders, like what will be their take on that? I don't know if anyone has any other comments on that. I think the Board of Supervisor staff would have a good idea of how that might look, so. Lead agency, again, this has gone back and forth, but this current recommendation is out of the mayor's office. The two different ones have been mayor's office or HSA. This is recommending mayor's office.
I think basically, the permanent, where it says resolutions to keep the body, it has to be the mayor's office, it can't be. I mean, it can't be the first, but not. I mean, he's done it as a task force, but really task force is really. Short amount of time. So I think, interesting. So we set it up, we said it as, we didn't need it for the long term, and sure, it was a board supervisor, task force, and have the supervisors involved. Otherwise, I think you have like.
Okay, and then the question is, how does it relate to the Board of Supervisors, and what should be structured in there? Is there like an report the Board of Supervisors? I mean, how do they keep in the food? For food security, so many of these supervisors in the districts, particularly districts most predominantly impacted, really, we don't want to move them out of place. Right now they get a lot of information from the food security task force, but we don't want to have them out of the food. Especially if you get a mayor that's obviously there's an interesting conundrum, right?
All that data we collected from the other, like, cities we talked to, we can take a look back at it and see.
Yeah, maybe Jade would on that example, how other Board of Supervisors.
Or like
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of like jog our memories.
Yeah.
Spark some things.
Yeah. Some of these other cities actually have like staff or the Board of Supervisors on the committee, which is really interesting. Yeah,
That's what I do.
it's actually an interesting idea.
Yeah, my group works.
Yeah, whatever people do, great, love it. Okay, great. Let's continue that. Anything else on that so far? Okay, all right, and then we go down to the purpose of this. We don't have to go through this, we kind of know this, right? advising, we do have advisory board of supervisors here too, so they're involved there. Membership, now this is really key. This is for the advisory council. This is based on Beth, I think, Robert funds, thank you so much. So this is based on the new, recommended advisory structure that the committee on rules, recommended. And it is, which includes the 15 members, it includes the time off, that you have 3 years and then you rotate off, that sort of thing. So it's really critical is the seats. Who's gonna be on this advisory board and who appoints them? How do they get on? So, love to hear some feedback on this. This is, as proposed, there are 5 seats to represent nonprofit organizations, and these are similar language to what was on the food security task force. Oops, we go down, sorry. Not limited to food, serving food, home delivered, congregate, food bank, free dining, was one of service agencies, youth shelter, faith-based food vouchers, food reach, and this added food vouchers for retail, farmers markets, grocery stores, and hospitals and clinics. Those were new items for that, and organizations have more than one more representative, that's the same. Then seats 6 and 7, being held by folks in medical institutions in San Francisco. Who work in or around the research and education about nutrition sensitive medical conditions and chronic disease. Again, that's tying it to the healthcare costs of food insecurity in San Francisco. And if you kind of missing that, we can, if there's anything that the philosophy we get behind this, should let me know.
I'm just trying to find, I based this off of the different, community advisory board, if someone provided.
Was it the
I think that's.
actually this bring out long-term care, it might actually be.
Or find it eventually.
I'm not sure we want positions if you want to use that.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, and you can see that some of this is, so one of these was, and so this came from, so C8, that was directly, so that really came from a model of this other committee. So, and that, in someone with expertise in food security or access to, appointed by the director of health, and do have a question about whether that should be director of health or director of HSA, if there's any specifics. With that, so a question on that. And then, there's a seat 9 is really around somebody who, has the evaluation and research background, in terms of, I think, addressing food systems and some, specialized expertise in that. And that was appointed by the board of supervisors. C10, and this is similar to this one they have they do have an SDD tag, is a youth individual who represents. And then go down some more. Then 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 are folks that residents of San Francisco with lived experience in food insecurity. Or it doesn't, actually, we're gonna say with a priority for zip codes with higher, instead from those, but with a priority for those folks with zip codes for those neighborhoods that are more impacted.
Would this then add a budget element for this task force, considering that we're asking residents or, you know, being on stipend?
They were not allowed to say. The reference in the committee on committees is like, no. Could philanthropy cover that? I don't know if that's legal, I don't know. But that was one of the things that the food security task force highly recommended, but this group said you can't do it.
Yeah.
So. Okay, questions, comments, well, I wanted to also bring up by this, like, who are you missing, who's not on here? It's important to note that the, person. There's a co-chair, right? It's co-chaired by a city department person, this advisory co-chairs, yeah. So there will be represented from that advisory council, from the, the office, but is that enough coordination? Like how, there's a question there, if, we've functionally separated, the departments from CEOs and, community. Who else do we identify as possibly missing in the structure?
So with the structure, with the co-chair being a co-chair for the community advisory body, they aren't listed in this, in any of the seats from 1 through 15. So we need to consider whether or not we want them to be on a seat or 1 through 15, or if there's a different avenue for them to co-chair. There were, philanthropy was listed, as not listed. There was the, departments aren't listed on any of the co-chairs, and then the last one was parents of a child who was enrolled in SMUSD.
It's not specific that coalitions are invited, so that may be one of the areas. And again, this particular structure has, for the number of food providing agencies, 5 slots is not a lot. So just to note that, and then 2 were specifically for medical. And there's no specific one for those coalitions. So if it's like facts or something, there isn't like, how do coalitions get involved? Any part of it. Is that, and does that happen sometimes through the seats that are from people with lived experience? It's kind of, or is that, do we prioritize that somewhere else? So I'm just bringing up some of the issues we may miss.
Where were the representatives from, like, SMUSD all, like, I think he very schools play a very big role in food coordination, where the representatives.
They, even though they're not department, I think we have to specify that they would be part of the citywide coordination, right? That's kind of the purview of that. Yeah. Yes, and this body should be coordinated across all of those departments. Yes, and following ideally a strategic plan that had a lot of community involvement, so that everyone's sort of on board, and then the advisory board is helping keep it on track. Does that make sense? So it's not starting kind of just from.
If I could have a list of both, just so it's easier to see it, like all up for office seat. Just. Because I think that's what we're trying to say, it's like, out of both these bodies, is there anyone missing? But,
Yeah, we're talking about like a side by side.
no, I just meant for us internally, like, just to have, so that way we can see, like, because that's where it's really.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of, just making sure there's, everyone that's in those groups. And
Right, and pretty much it breaks down into like 5 lived experience seats, possibly 6 with depending on the school. Youth representative, I think, right? It could be mine. But so that's a stand aside, and then you've got, in terms of can you go on a little bit? You've got 5 CBO related to food security. Also, this doesn't bring up food systems, and I'm mentioning that as well, right? I mean, in some cases they do, like farmers markets, part of the grocery store, so I guess that's part of the food system. There's 2 seats from medical institutions, so we might wanna look at that. Is that 5 to 2 for food security, we wanna look at that, and then that other position that is like a researcher. So you have 3 sort of medical researcher and 5 CBO, so we wanna kind of look at that.
And we could also end up with like even more health focused folks, because we're, like, hospitals and health clinics are wrapped up in the seats 1 through 5 as well.
Yeah, so might just maybe make 7 seats that include all of that.
Yeah.
And then you really try to get a hospital representative. And then and leave the 1 seat that is more of the food security evaluation expert. And like research, yeah. And then maybe we could also add coalition to that CBO, and then you have 7 seats for CBOs and coalitions. 5 for lived experience, 1 youth, 1 researcher.
Also, it's, I remember the hospital, that's what I said, like,
So, right, so you could have representatives from,
right, if we want more representation, then we would say more coalition, right, and we want that representative coalitions, right?
So we get their distilled experience.
Right, so there is a hospital.
Yeah.
I think having the insurance provider, right, so whether it's health plan, access to health plan, I think that's where. And I think it, like, we want you to pay for food, so.
Yeah.
Food would be, food would be needed to take a long time.
yeah, and food is, and that's actually a really good point,
Hospitals serve food,
right?
but. You know, all the other stuff. Outside of it.
We can make sure that health plan is also part of the.
Yeah.
The government market, because they're pseudo government, they're like USD.
I think healthcare wise, I think it's just. Not the final one, yeah, like, you want that person to go down. Sorry. But. It's like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't call that, so, but anyway, I think,
most people there.
I see, so what the recommendation is actually split from specific things.
I think we should probably break out, otherwise we could not just people from any healthcare.
Yeah.
Right, so I think we need to follow out the systems, right, within the system. And have different representatives there.
Right. Any feedback from folks online, on virtual? On this topic? City College, okay, great.
Patty has her hand raised.
Patty,
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I've been working with City College around food insecurity for a while now, and both they're a site of programs to address food security, but also a place where there's a great deal of need for more support. And also, I feel like they could use a nudge to connect with other services in the city more. That's why I was wondering about a seat for City College.
thank you. Interesting point, do you open up this student seat?
I was just wondering that's who about doing a stay seat or if that person, if Patty is talking about having a representative who's actually a student or more like an institutional member of City College. These are kind of
They're two different things, yeah.
perspectives.
Yeah. Do you like kind of broadening from the student perspective? Because there are, like I said, there's folks involved in the state that are involved in food, security, but also, I thought, the school district down here, but that they have some, champions, I think, around security. I'm not sure that.
As a student.
The school district. Yeah. Okay. Huh?
It might be Jennifer.
Is Jennifer there?
You would say that.
Oh, yeah. It was like missing. Yeah, it was Jennifer. Okay, great suggestion. Thank you, Patty. We'll look into that. What else we got? Overall, we feeling on track? Pretty good? Yes, we gotta get some of these details, and again, this is the age progression, we'll be able to get some feedback as well. But these will be our recommendations. Okay, let's go down then, and again, there is, one of the opportunities of this is that they're appointed by board of supervisors, so then that board does get, say this, right? The only question is, how is the screening done? So we had some we just had a question about that. Currently, the Food Security Task Force, we nominate and then the board of supervisors appoint. So we have to figure out how that nomination, or what process is it to screen that? So I'm not sure. That's gotta be, we'll need to find out more about that. Okay, again, horrible, the advisory count, no compensation stinks. But we're not seeing a way around that right now, unless Lance, we can do it.
That will be updated then, right, because that says that there's an exception for the residents.
Yeah, that was our recommendation, right?
That was a recommendation.
Yeah. We're gonna leave it in there, but I'm not, it's not likely, so I'm just leaving it in there.
Got it.
Okay. All right, and then this is just more stuff around the, attendance, meetings, blah, blah, blah. I don't think we need so much of that. Okay, great, and Patty clarified that she was thinking an institutional representative. Thank you. Okay, this is the other piece, this is the, food security report. And, the recommendation is that this report is done every 3 years. That was one of the, issue items, but, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3 seems to be the number that we're going for, with, the opportunity for, an annual reporting on the budget. Just like we talked about here, I think you guys brought it up. What was the budget? What is the actual spending? What's the proposed budget for next year? Yeah, and then we need to make sure, so this is it, well, this has the positions, so this has, San Francisco Unified School District. Blah, 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 these are folks that are involved in the report. Blah, 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 so all of this is pretty much the same, right? Was there anything that, this is important, right? This purpose that it involves not, this second bullet point talks a little bit about the food system, right? Versus just food insecurity. So if you're talking about grocery zoning, food stalls, corner stores. Yeah. And there are some models for this. LA has a mapping of some of the stuff that they do. So that it can, one of the things we want to look at here is, are we addressing the food system? There's a big, a lot of folks want to address more than just the food insecurity issues, but more like, are we looking at the food system? So one of the things we'll have to look at here. Okay, this is all pretty much the same, right? Okay. This, has any of this changed from last time? Okay, great. So this is from the language around the biannual, the formal language of biannual food security report. Okay, great. The key thing is that we want to make sure that they run before recommendations are made, that they're run by the advisory body. And inputs are made, right? In correlation with the advisory body, in coordination. Okay, and then this last piece is new. And is specific around engaging in public-private partnerships. Should they be available? And there's a whole office, there's a new office under Mayor Lurie run public-private partnerships. So the idea is really want to make sure that that is also part of this. And then where did the process come? Where did this come from? The content for this?
I did, I don't know if it's still on that page, but I think reference. Will be, I guess from. It's, I don't remember where it is exactly, but. that's why I feel like the definition of PPP, the intentions of the PPP, which is to ultimately promote public good and protect public goods.
Yeah.
So if it's not there, I can maybe share that with you also to look at that document.
Okay, great. All right, good, is that, yep. And then it just has some examples of case study example. Okay, questions, comments? They all right, feeling good about it? Any red flags? No, not hearing anything from the group here, anything from folks virtually?
Hey, Sissy. Yeah, there is a question about how often the report would be conducted. Would that be yearly, biennial?
Yeah, the recommendation is every 3 years.
Sorry, every 3 years?
2 years
Okay.
being too short, but with 2 years, but with an annual update on the budget. Because the budget changes, and then, and the thought was 2 years is too short. But, if you go like 4 or 5 years, then you're sort of, you have the potential of missing a whole, you know, a whole administration, technically, like 4 years, so it seems like a little too long. So that was the food security task force, I think we voted on that, or that was the recommendation that we came up with one of our other meetings.
That's right. Okay, 3 years. Thanks.
I imagine that will be one of those things that still gets tossed out a little. Other questions, comments from the public? All right, so next steps, this will go to, be sent to the, supervisor's aide who's still interested in, possibly, backing this ordinance for, feedback. This is what they've asked of us, to give some recommendations, and we'll continue to have conversations and see where this goes. I think if there's any other interest from other parties, such as the mayor's office or anything else, we are happy to share this same document.
Sissy, how many supervisors do we have on board?
We had like 4 or 5 to reauthorize the food security task force, right?
They were interested in supporting someone if we found a champion.
Exactly. Yeah, that was last, it's been a little while, so we've come back and talk about it, so, yeah, but that's where we were from. And again, I think there has been some back and forth possibility with the mayor's office, especially since this food coordination, centralized food coordination idea has come up in so many of the meetings. As well as this potential strategic plan, so I think there's a more interest, but we don't know. Want to thank
Hey,
everyone.
Sissy, sorry, I had a question. Sorry,
Yeah.
can we clarify like what department this group would be under? Is it
Yeah.
would they say with DPH or?
Yeah, I mean, I think this particular recommendation has the mayor's office. But again, I think that's gonna be one of the areas that has discussion. And the 2 players that have come up before are whether mayor's office or HSA. But this group is recommending mayor's office, and that was originally because the greater impact on budget and to really work, the thought is to break those silos across departments might be, and with examples of other cities, that it may be better placed in that department. Or office.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Again, thank you everyone for the hard work on this, and we'll again keep you all informed as we continue. Right. Okay, let's go to item number 8, update on biannual food security and equity report. So that is Eric.
Hey, everyone, I'm Eric, I'm a health program planner with TPH. I'm just here to provide an update on the biannual food security and equity report. It is happening. So DPH will be leading the efforts on developing the report for this year. It is slated to be completed by December of this year, if not early 2027, so sometime January or February. Reporting departments have been notified, some of you have already been notified about the data collection process, which has begun. And that was mid-February, and reporting departments have 120 days to submit their data for this report. So the deadline is sometime in June, mid-June, and the data that we're collecting for this year is specifically fiscal year 24-25 data for reporting departments. So we're only focusing on that 1 year. So more to come, we'll be hosting a data collection training for reporting departments soon. And then we've developed a preliminary data set similar to the first one from the 2023 report, which we will be presenting to you all in May, which I just confirmed like 10 seconds ago. So in May, we'll be presenting that preliminary data set to you all. It's really just informational. It's like kind of background information around a lot of the data that was actually covered in the recommendations from earlier in this meeting, as well as some updated food security data. Is there anything else? I don't think so, but it's exciting, it's happening. There are a lot of delays just to staff transitions and a lot of uncertainties around city leadership around where this food report was going to go. But that's kind of settled down, and we've been given the green light to continue to work. So more to come.
Is the completion of the report dependent on the reauthorization of the task force, or is it gonna happen regardless?
It's happening regardless, and I know that the task force is written into the ordinance to provide feedback on the data and the recommendations, which I'm still planning on having that happen. So it's still intended in the work plan to have those community engagement meetings to review the data when it does come in, and we're working with the Center for Data Science team to clean up that data so that when we do present it, it's more digestible and everyone can actually take a look at it and come up with some routes.
Great.
Great. So what is it? Completed?
December 31st of this year is the soft deadline. But if not, January or February. And then following that, there'll be, public presentations on the report. So the balance of the shit,
Great.
the board.
Wow, great. It's great. Yeah, this has been on hold for a while, so this is great, great news.
Mark, I'll also be providing monthly updates to the task force now that the process has started.
Okay, great. Love that. Thank you, Eric. It's great.
It's so great. I was just curious as far as the timing, is that based on how long do you think it's gonna take to produce?
Yeah, so the original cadence for this report was to be produced every 2 years. So the second iteration's original deadline was October of last year, 2025. Given that didn't happen and we haven't worked on it, we've slimmed down the report so that it's focused only on fiscal year 24-25 data. But because we're slimming it down, because it's a condensed timeline, we're giving ourselves about a year to complete this report. It's that's why we're stepping down the content.
I'll just make a comment that if you're getting out sooner, that would be fantastic. It's just one of those, right, you know, it's always nice when you say 25 data that it comes out by 26.
Yeah.
So once we go on to 27, it's still fun.
Yeah.
Does the data, as the departments get more used to reporting, does it get easier?
We're hoping so.
Yeah. I know last time it's really hard. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, it was hard in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of lessons learned from the first report, and working with Center for Data Science, we changed up the data collection tool. One, there's significantly fewer questions, and then two, we've structured it in a different way from having reporting departments turn in Excel templates. There are still some Excel templates involved in the data collection, but that's the nitty gritty. But we've made it so that hopefully it's easier for reporting departments to give us our data and to have that data be formatted in a way that makes it easier for our team to analyze it.
Oh, great, great. And so it takes a full year to do a report like this?
Probably. Based off of our calculations from the first report, which we actually went over time, we were over by a couple months. But that didn't account for all the data cleaning. So this year it's a shorter timeline, but we're collecting less data, and we also tightened up how we're collecting the data, hopefully. So and also the big chunk of time is coming from giving reporting departments 4 months to turn in the state, which is written into the ordinance.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, I think that's this is the trade-off of like trying to get information that you really need, but also like how much work goes into this and how frequently to do that. Yeah, sure, great. Well, this is exciting.
All right, thank you.
Comments, public comment. I am not seeing any hands up or any notes in the chat. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you. Looking at updates, now we'll move on to item number 9, updates and emerging issues. Updates. I don't know if everyone knows, but the FACTS group is yet again coordinating a great event. Do you want to tell a little more about it, Jay?
Yeah, it's on March 25th, so this place, there's, at least is the Mission campus at the Rudder Center. Last year we did like a dinner time, first day was like a dinner time, networking event, but this day we're spreading the breakout sessions across 2 days instead of doing like all ones. So first day is 8 to 5, and then the second day is kind of a half day, like from 8 to 3. The breakfast and lunch, these are on sale at the center website. We have really exciting speakers. Beth is being on a breakout session on food recovery in action, and she leads the. Yes. There's like a food tech panel, innovation and food access, future of food education. There's a session specifically for class members around trauma informed practices, specifically just to support this beyond players making their really signed out. So our program can be found on our website. So we'll also have a pre-summit kickoff. So we get the gate launch on March 17th. And that's with Nancy Matsumoto, who's an author. She's come out with a book called What She Sows, now limited on our transforming our food system. She'll be in conversation with Shakira, talking about how women are leading our food system. Benefits of cross-cultural collaboration. So that comes with, the drink, cafes and appetizers, and getting also the coffee, design coffee, Nancy's book. And then the collaboration will follow the next conversation.
When is it?
Sorry,
When is it?
When does it kick off? For the kickoff? March 17th, I think that's just Spain.
Oh my God. Yeah. Is that the thing enough for the food security task force thing, or is that,
So we just,
or you want to send it?
did we get the?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I prefer it. Any other updates? Emerging issues? I just want to know that there's been a number of presentations done by San Francisco HSA around the SNAP, able-bodied cuts in the Medicaid, also in Medi-Cal, California cuts. So if people haven't attended those are very good, very informative. Yeah. Other items? Want to thank our host. Thanks, everyone. It's great to see everyone. I'm sorry, we missed everyone there who's not with us today, but thank you. And with that, I'm not seeing any more public comment. Any public comment? I'm not seeing. Oh, yes.
I don't know enough about this to really want to bring it up, but I did get the email from Representative Tsai about more cuts to DPH that are coming out, and just want that to be on everyone's radar. A lot of the food security work that was spared in the last round, but this is gonna go much cheaper, so we're looking at that for.
Yeah, it was internal DPH and then also
The federal.
CEOs. Okay, so we don't know the details.
They're not announcing until when? April.
There are community meetings that are happening, but it's not clear what's gonna be shared, right?
Because they just had that last round of meetings, right, around, what this being like, basically capacity building, generous at CEOs. So that was the last round of, right?
Yeah, this tomorrow, as I go with the month.
Yeah, so for those of you who can't hear that, there's a meeting tomorrow, outside, right, DPH, and that memo did go around, right, that was.
Yeah.
It's a public meeting, right?
So there is a March community meeting tomorrow in person, but it is sold out because there is a 120 person maximum capacity within that room. So I reached out to colleagues and they're working to create a wait list. I asked to make it hybrid, but I don't know, I've been here, so I will let you all know if I hear anything. If you join the wait list, you will receive the after meeting email. So that was before I got here. Hopefully that's been updated. Send that around.
Great, thank you so much. Any other updates? The budget,
Yeah, they didn't see.
the budget, calendar, or the budget?
Single budget, okay, so, yeah, this is one for the DPH doing probably.
Oh, is HSA doing that?
I think that there's already.
I don't know.
I think it's just go for a while and then.
I don't know about HSA specifically, but DOS did their budget presentation in February, so.
And there was something on there about. There was a line item on there that is just a check, like it was just a very big. But it also did the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much around the budget, generally cuts for the whole city, but it's not been as clear. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and, since I'm not seeing any more public comment, no, reps in chat, we will, adjourn the meeting. Thank you guys so much for attending. Really appreciate it.